Light the beam, because it's time for Nerdy for 30, the podcast where we talk about nerdy-ish movies for 30-ish minutes. My name is Kevin Bauer, a.k.a. the Critic's Choice. With me, as always, the people's champ, Tim Cack.
If you feel it, chase it, baby.
If you feel it, chase it. And today, we are talking about a movie that I would definitely say is nerdy-ish. You might not think that it would be in our wheelhouse, but it sure is. It's The Martian. Tim, you've never seen this one before. I gotta know. What'd you think?
I've never seen it. This slots right into a great dad tier of movie that's just it's in the vein of the Moneyballs, of the Spotlights, where it's just a bunch of people talking about a thing that happened, and it's great. I'm here for it the whole time. They got good actors talking, and it's nice. It's chill. I had a great time, Kevin. I knew I would like this movie, and you know what? I did. What do you think, Kevin? You've seen this before, right?
Hell yeah. I saw it in the theaters when it came out. Loved it. This is the first time I think I've gone back and rewatched it. And I do have to say, it is a lot cornier than I remember it being. I was trying to figure out what that is, whether that is just like that the world is darker now or what. I want to get into this later, but a lot of the actual like moral questions in the movie stood out to me in a way that they never used to before. But overall, I think what's funniest about it is that this is so full of tropes. And at the time, people loved it, I think, because it's like, oh, this is, the type of movie that would normally be very tropey, but they're applying actual grounded science to it. Watching it now, no, it's still full of tropes. Do you know how many times we saw scenes where the entire mission control room clapped? I stopped counting at 5.
But that's what happens when something goes well in mission control. I mean, that's what happens every time a shuttle goes up. It didn't seem out of the ordinary to me.
Are they stocking these mission control rooms like a sitcom taping?
They did like 5 different launches every time. And these are months apart. That's how every shuttle is treated like a big deal, dude. I'm from Countdown County. I've seen a million of these things, and each one, it's like the first time, man. It's beautiful.
Comes the flex.
They're snowflakes. They're each unique and wonderful in their own special way. And you'll be goddamned if I'm not up there clapping in mission control when we have a successful launch.
I want a job where every time something happens related to my job, I'm that excited about it. That's the dream. I send HTML emails for a living. I want a job. I want to be doing it in a place where every single time an HTML email goes out, we're all standing up and clapping.
See, I think it's more relieved than excited, because a couple of these have blown up, and anytime they don't, that's a huge win. But if something blows up, some people are getting fired. Or like, that's when it's like, not the stakes are so high for this, it's life or death. So I feel the clapping is more, I can't believe we made it. Wow, this might actually work. Wow, we live to see another day, as opposed to, wow, this is such a cool job. But I mean, this is a cool job. This is one of the few cool jobs that exists, right? Where you can be like, I'm an astronaut. Oh, I work for NASA. Those are cool jobs. Everything else is an accountant, a teacher, a lawyer, an OnlyFans model, or a doctor of some kind. And those are the only professions that anyone finds interesting at all. You bored me to death with your HTML thing. I honestly don't even know what to do. I kind of spaced out. I clapped when he finished talking because I was glad we landed that plane. Well, I think I want to get into the moral quandaries you brought up. This feels, for rewatchability, it feels like 2 different movies. One is just Matt Damon talking to himself.
Sure.
And I feel like I could get really sucked into that. The other one is everyone on Earth dealing with the minutia and the negotiations of what this means, that he is on Mars. And
yeah, big time.
I kind of find the Earth stuff more interesting after a while. The Martian stuff was cool for the first half. And after a minute, I'm like, okay, he's just going to hang out. And I liked the politics of this and the PR, and Jeffrey Daniels is crushing it. I mean, man, everything he's saying, I'm into. I like the procedural aspect of this, I think, more than the survival on Mars aspect, which kind of surprised me.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting you bring that up, because I was thinking while watching it this time that the only reason that the Mars stuff works for me is because we're able to cut away to the other stuff. It's a great way to rest that game, because Castaway, this is kind of like 2 levels removed from Castaway, right? Where in Castaway, we don't really have a plan to save this guy being worked out. And also, he's not really doing that like confessional style, straight to camera explanation of what he's feeling. It feels like that may have been very influenced by shows like The Office and how that exploded and became the style that all comedies did, because it gives you this hack to have your character explicitly say directly to the audience what they're thinking and what they're doing and why. Meanwhile, in Castaway, we just got to watch Tom Hanks pick up a stick and we're like, what's that going to do?
I mean, they eventually create Wilson, which I think is a psychological tool. If you're abandoned by yourself for too long, it's good to have something to talk to so you don't drive yourself completely insane. I think in Castaway, maybe it's a little different because it's like base survival. So I understand what his goals are. Maybe because I like the survival stuff. So maybe I'm just a little more attuned to that and more interested in those things than the average person. But he gets fire. You know, it's a friggin' big deal. He gets water. It's got to be fresh. He catches fish. These are all huge accomplishments that we understand on a guttural level. When Matt Damon gets it to rain inside on a potato thing, I have no idea how he did it. He's saying these things. He's got sheets going. He's just lighting this flammable thing and it creates water, but also it's like spraying everywhere and just watering all of the crops. I don't understand a single thing he does in this. And they present it in a way where I'm like, oh yeah, of course. But it makes me feel smart, even though everything they're saying is either actually dumb or so smart that it sounds dumb to me.
Yeah, it's very compelling in the way that it does that, in a way where there are times where it feels like Matt Damon is justifying the things that he's doing the same exact way that you ask a dungeon master to let you do something in D&D. Where like there's a part where he's talking about growing potatoes and he's like, I mean, there's no way that I could grow potatoes in this soil where nothing can grow except for one thing. And he holds up that binder that says Mark Watney botanist on it. It's like, I'm a botanist. That feels identical to like, okay, now I know that there's 2 guards. I want to do a stealth roll to get right through them. And I want to roll with advantage because my character is wearing brown pants and the mud that we're walking on is brown. And like the DM has to go like, I sure, you know what? Roll it with advantage.
Yeah, I guess botanist is the best job for him to have in this movie. He makes the potatoes and the rest of it is just him duct taping stuff. And he programs. I mean, he's smart. He comes up with this alphabet. I think that the character itself is crazy that he's alone for 4 years and he's lost all this weight, but he's still smart. I mean, the mental stamina of this guy is unreal. And I think we could have seen more cracks than that. I think there wasn't much of a psychological problem in this, as opposed to it was all just kind of math and steps, and he seemed like just a real science nerd and a little, impersonal sometimes. And there were moments where he raged, but for the most part, he's like, yep, I eat half a potato and this is cool.
Yeah,
he's
I'm just not hangry at all. I just ate half of a potato.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy that he's like so psyched about the potato, and it seems like he eats it every day with no problem at all. And he's just one of those weird guys that NASA collects, I guess. And, it worked out. It's fun.
Well, that's one of the things that I'm going to log this as a thief, in that like any of the insufficiencies that, I don't know, the corniness that the character has. There are so many times where it's like, well, technically this, and that. So technically I am a space pirate. It's so dorky. It's such like a dad thing, but it also feels, sorry, NASA scientists, 100% in line with the senses of humor of some of the like smartest people I've ever met. Yes. Where it is very like, look, this is very dorky. I say that with a lot of love, but it feels like the way that kind of person in real life would be trying to keep their head above water in this kind of a situation.
This guy is a weirdo, right? Like he's got to be in his 40s, right? He
would have to be, right? He would have to be. Right. There's no way they're sending up somebody in their 50s.
he's not in his fit, but he's not in his 30s, I guess is more what I'm saying.
Mhm.
He's like an older guy. He is single and seems to have no attachments other than his two parents.
Sure.
No other siblings are mentioned.
Who we never see. We never see the parents, do we?
We never see the parents. And they do a thing instinctively in this movie. I want him and Jessica Chastain to get together. And they don't do it.
Uh-huh.
And I think that's the right move. They give us Kate Mara and Sebastian Stan for some reason, which is nice. I mean, I needed something. I needed a little something to hang my hat on.
Hilarious. It's exactly the way it feels when you find out that two coworkers at a job that you left are now together. And you're like, what? I didn't even know they knew each other.
It doesn't feel like they interact at all until one of them's jogging and one of them waves. And I'm like, oh, damn, it's over. They're fucking for sure. Like that. It's done. It's a done deal. They're the only people without families. So they're hooking up and it seems great. But Jessica Chastain has a husband and it seems like a family that she cares about. And there is no love in this. Love is not a part of the arrangement. There's nobody who is fueled to get Matt Damon because he's the love of their life and they have to save him. You know, This is just like a blunt scientific thing. This brings me to my when did you know? Kevin, when did you know there was no bad guy in this movie?
Oh, Tim. I gotta tell you.
Before you say that,
I beg to differ.
I was expecting Sebastian Stan to be a bad guy. I was expecting someone in this system to have left him behind intentionally. I was expecting, Jeff Daniels to want to leave him there like permanently. I was expecting all of these. I expected someone was sabotaging this. Someone is actively working against him. And although there's conflicting interests, at the end of the day, it seems like everyone is going forward as best they can and doing their best. And everyone celebrates when he comes home. So there isn't an antagonist in this. There isn't a love interest that is fueling this. This is just a very platonic, nerdy 40-something guy with no real social attachments on a dirt ball in the middle of space for 4 years by himself. And the people who get to talk about it. So I don't know. But do you think there is a bad guy in this? Who would you say is the villain of this movie then?
The villain of this movie is everybody except for Jeff Daniels. Jeff Daniels 100% was going to let Mark die up there. Jeff Daniels was right. The amount of resources that were spent on getting this guy, the sheer amount of manpower that was spent saving one guy. And I'll give you that politically, it's a really bad way to accidentally kill someone. But people die every day, Tim. How many people do you think in the span of time that they're working on this died from mass shootings in the United States? Maybe some of the money and effort that was spent in this could have been spent on like, hey, it doesn't make for a great movie, but like when you dig into the actual mechanics of this, like the amount of effort that's going into saving this one dude, statistically, how many people do you think died from like preventable drunk driving accidents in the span of time that they were working to save Mark Watley? Like this, it's a criminal abuse of resources to use all of this effort to go get this guy.
Kevin, America needs heroes. They do. We've picked them. We know who they are. We don't have a choice anymore. Like you're an astronaut, you're a hero. You just are. You're a soldier, you're a hero. You just are. If you're a kid going to school and you get shot, you're not a hero. Sorry. It sucks. It's bad. I mean, personally, I think that's way more horrible. But that doesn't sell American flag pins. That's not raising tax money for anything. That's something you send thoughts and prayers at, right? Drunk driving. There's so many tangible things that we could work on. The sexiest pick is to get an astronaut and save his life, right? This is like a military specifically trope, I think, in all these movies. Saving Private Ryan, we have to go get this one guy behind enemy lines. We got to get this one guy. Black Hawk Down, we got to get these two guys. This is what heroics in our country is built on, is no one is left behind. Other countries view people as just a collective who are all supporting and expendable pieces. They've got, kamikaze pilots or whatever. But the US, we care about every individual. We care about every soldier. Whether or not that's actually true, probably not. But that's like the thing that they're beating into our heads. And that is the recruitment video for joining the military or NASA or anything like that, is the idea that our government, we might squabble on things, but at the end of the day, we're going to get our man back. And that's the American way. So it is propaganda. It's bullshit, but it's American.
That's also exactly why I think that they probably actually would do this. Is just because the PR of launching this miraculous mission to go try to save this person would so far outweigh anything else that they would be attempting to do. And I do think it's the kind of thing where they would attempt to throw some new technology into it. I mean, they end up kind of accidentally trying a bunch of shit out in this movie in order to save him. So I think they would probably build that in and be like, all right, cool, we're going to do that. But also we're going to hide in the budget that we're going to use like a hydrogen thruster for the first time, something like that, like,
yes,
it would be an excuse to try some shit out and slip some stuff into the budget. And I think they would do it.
But that's what they're doing, right? Isn't that what they're what Vincent is talking about, is that, hey, we're going to get our guy back, but we need funding. And then we can use that to fuel the next mission. So we can, if we go after this now, we can get Congress to approve the next mission. So they are manipulating this and using it for PR that is advancing the space program. That doesn't mean that Vincent doesn't want this guy back and that it's not killing him to be messaging with this guy and not telling him the whole truth of his situation. But he is also thinking about the bottom line and PR and how to continue the space program. They are all working towards, not all of them, but a lot of the characters in NASA in this situation are working towards a higher goal, a higher calling, a higher power, which is the pursuit of science out in space and discovery. And that is their number one mission. And continuing to explore is the thing that they've all decided to prioritize in their lives over everything else. So aside from Sean Bean, who seems to care about, the people involved, even the people involved on the ship are like, we got to get our guy with science. I mean, this is why we got into this, is to do this stuff and push the boundaries of things. And this is what we do, So, yeah, I mean, it's a lot of blowhard shit, I guess. Is that what you're trying to say? Is that
we just a lot of blowhard shit?
But yeah, it is. But I got sucked into it. I kind of enjoyed it. Did you have any one that really stood out to you in the cast that was like banging? Because
I mean, this cast is insane.
The cast is absolutely insane. Donald Glover coming in for like 3 minutes, incredible.
So funny. That was pre total explosion of Childish Gambino, and like Donald Glover is this like, I feel like new icon is what he's being presented as now. Even though I don't think anybody saw the sci-fi thing that he just released.
Kristen Wiig was just randomly in this movie for no reason, and she's great. But every character that means anything is someone who you recognize. At least now we recognize them. And I did also just want to highlight Mackenzie Davis, who plays like Mindy, who's like the girl who discovers stuff.
Mm-hmm.
She's great. I feel like I haven't seen another thing she's in. She's in that movie that's coming out now, the Whispering movie with James McAvoy.
Oh yeah,
she did the most recent Terminator movie, which I actually really liked. I got to find more stuff she's in because I thought she was really, really great. I'm surprised I haven't seen her in more stuff.
Halt and Catch Fire, dude. It's hard to watch because you basically need an AMC Plus membership now, and who the fuck has that? Nobody has that. But if you are into pirating, check out Halt and Catch Fire because it's awesome. It's so good. It's her and Lee Pace is the lead of it, and I mean they're great. And Scoot McNairy is in it too. It's wonderful. You'll dig it. It's about like some people who basically build like the first laptop, and they managed to make it thrilling. They're all computer programmers. And it's the same kind of a deal as in this, where everyone is saying a lot of things where you're like, that sounds impressive. That sure does sound impressive. I bet this person actually can do this thing. But I'm still waiting for her to have her big break. I was hoping for her as the Invisible Woman. She was like the number one on my short list to play Sue Storm, just because I want her to have something that brings her up to the top of everybody's attention. I think she's great.
She was jacked in Terminator and kicking ass. I mean, she should be in the MCU for sure.
Oh, did you see Station 11? She's in Station 11 too on HBO.
No, I didn't see Station 11. I'll have to watch that. I've got a million recs to see that, I think. You got any thieves or beefs, Kevin, you want to hit on?
You know, I already hit my biggest beef. I want to drop a small thief that's just like the meta canon for Sean Bean. As soon as Sean Bean showed up in this movie, I was like, I don't remember Sean Bean dying in this. I don't remember anybody dying in this. Why would Sean Bean be in this? And then when Jeff Daniels is like, of course, I'll expect your resignation. I was like, oh, he does. He does die.
He dies a metaphorical death by being let go from the program. And at the end of the movie, he's not working there anymore. No. I was shocked that he stuck by it. I was shocked that Jeff Daniels is like, his character's awesome because he just says shit and he means it. And he instantly is like, it's my call. You know, we'll skip the inspections. We're going for this. Like, these are my judgment calls. I'm in charge. You know, Mitch, you did this thing. You fucked up. You can't work here anymore, but you get to bring the guys home first. Yeah. And that's crazy. That's awesome. It's so cool.
Dude, we were talking through Jeff Daniels' like more recent dramatic turns and like who he plays when he's a dramatic character. And I think Lauren hit the nail on the head with his like character's ethos is always, do you think I like being the bad guy? Like he's like a good dude who's forced to be in the position to make the hard decision and look bad about it. And it's so true. Even him playing Atticus Finch on Broadway, it's like, wow, that's that exact character.
I always think of him from The Newsroom, which is,
oh yeah,
you know, a hard-hitting news guy who's acting the truth, who's considers himself a Republican, but doesn't like the way the party looks anymore, and is just defending his bullish stances on things and attacking people who he thinks have wronged them or are doing wrong. And I love it. I'm here for it. I think he's great. I think I prefer him being serious. Honestly, I like all those roles probably more than, I don't know, him joking around most of the time. But I do think it's funny at the end of the movie because we see Sean's no longer there. We see Kate Mara and Sebastian Stan have a baby. And it seems like they just had the baby and they are both in bed, not looking at the baby, just watching the TV for the launch. And something about that, I was like, this can't be. Really? This is the most important thing going on in your life right now? They just seem way too laissez-faire about having a baby. I guess you can, but
you know what the baby looks like.
You're holding it.
It's going to look the same for a while. Baby just popped out. You saw it. You had a thing that's cool. You're the one that was just saying that the most breathtaking thing a human being can experience is a rocket launch.
That's true. You're right. I've dropped 1 million babies to rush to the TV. I'll drop 1 million more. My thief in this might be the noises Matt Damon makes in space. And this is an early shoe-in for best sound. I'm going to nominate Matt Damon drinking grape juice in The Martian. And there's a scene where he's just sitting there by himself. You hear every sip of the grape juice, gulp, gulp, gulp. And then he puts it down and goes, fuck you, Mars. And I'm like, that is one of the best sounds I've ever heard. It's so funny. Matt Damon drops a couple F-bombs in this, and they're all great. Every one of them is powerful and poignant and so funny that that was maybe my favorite part of the whole thing.
Oh, what do you think he typed? They never show us what he typed when everybody is being broadcast around the entire world, the conversation between he and Chiwetel. And so it's like, these like, are you fucking kidding me? And then they're like, Mark, please keep an eye on your language. You're being broadcast live. And he goes, oh yeah. And then types something. We don't see what it is. What do you think he typed?
I think we can imagine what it is. I think, what do you mean? You want me to say it right now? What would you type, I guess, if you were the Martian? It'd be a lot of FUs, F this, F that, S my D. You
drop a couple C words in there for sure.
Yeah, definitely some
just C's. Like the C word is really right over Australia's head. A couple S's. Maybe a K.
Yeah.
Oh no,
probably some slurs
actually, you know what? There is
too.
A bad K word. I was trying to figure out a word that had like no slur associated with it, and I was just going to say that letter. I chose K. I was wrong. There's a very bad K one. Couple Z's. That's a safe one.
If I was him, I'm just listing every bad word I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Just really turning everyone against me. It'd be so funny if people had watched that. And I think afterwards the president's like, listen, man, you got to get your guy under control. And it's like, he's abandoned on Mars. He is by himself. He is dying. And you're mad at him for cursing. That right there is one of the most American things I've ever heard, is this guy's dying, fighting for his life on another planet. And we're offended by the way he's talking about it. That's the most American shit that's ever happened.
If that's happened, the only way that's happening is under like President Pence, like somebody who's like so unbelievably uptight, like a President Dolores Umbridge. Because like if it was Obama would be like, look, this guy's under a lot of stress. Like we got to cut him some slack. And, Trump wouldn't care. Maybe Biden would have, I don't know. Biden probably would have said like, watch that mouth, Jack. And that's it.
Do you agree with the decision to not tell the crew for as long as they did?
I mean, yeah, I think I do. If I'm trying to decide, I've been trying to decide all day if I were Jeff Daniels, if I would just cover up the whole thing, like make it like an official
just let
cover
him die
up.
out there.
Because I mean, in real life, the man's dead. Like this isn't even, so we're in fantasy world already, but I mean, how, oh God, he is in such an uncomfortable position because to imagine how you would feel if you left somebody that you cared about on another planet. Imagine how you would feel if you left somebody on an island, let alone another planet. And then that they're just theoretically just going to starve out there. Like it's brutal. So yeah, I wouldn't tell them.
Yeah, I think it's honestly pretty messed up to tell these people who have no control and no impact over the situation that he is alive. I don't know why you would ever tell them unless there's a chance for them to go back and get him. Until that point, I don't know why you would even bring it up.
Yeah,
because
I don't think you would.
Can't do anything about it. They're just beating themselves up. They have 5 months left to just think about it and replay it and hate themselves for it. Right. So that could jeopardize their mission. That could throw things off. If Jessica Chastain, who was the captain of this ship, is questioning herself, that could jeopardize the entire crew. So I think it's incredibly irresponsible for Sean Bean to be like sneaking them in this info and putting their lives on the line. I mean, it seems crazy. I think it makes sense that they would want to go back for him. I think it seems like the risks of them going back are pretty low, aside from missing more time. But this is also what they want to do. So whatever, I guess they don't really like their families enough to stick around that long. They're just like 500 more days, sign me up. Hell yeah, I got nothing going on. And Sebastian Stan and Kate Miara are just looking at each other across the table like, yeah, I could do 500 more days of this.
Dude, all the weightless stuff they get to do. Hell yeah, sign them up.
Man, sex in space. Oh, is that just a like? Where'd we get that from? God, the stuff that they'll be doing back on Earth to try to make that happen again. They'd be booking all those flights where the plane just nosedives so you get 0G. Yeah.
Michael Pena, so funny how he's up there on the spaceship and his wife is like, what do you mean you're going to be up there for 500 more days? And he's like, honey, it's what he would do for me. And then his wife is immediately like, you're right. And just smiling and hand up against the monitor and the baby's there. And it's like a toddler. It's like 3, right? And then after they get back and everything, when it's showing where everybody is now, Pena is back on a space shuttle. This man hates his family. He cannot wait to get away from them. Yeah.
I mean, this is what he does. This is what he's trained his whole life to do this. And they're little. I mean, he's not missing anything. So, I mean, you really don't want to be around your kids until they have jobs and they have income so you can go on vacations together. That's pretty much the only point of having children.
Yeah, that's the dream.
So they can support you in your retirement.
Do. Yeah, you just basically like outsource your kid to a live-in nanny and an au pair, and then they take them for 18 years, and then you get them, and the only thing you have to fight away is the resentment.
Yeah. You take care of him. I'll come back when he's on the football team. All right. Get a couple games.
He can get me the good seats.
Yeah, when he can get me the good seats, I'll be there. I'll be a booster for the library or whatever. And yeah, do you it is weird that they're just all immediately like, we're going back. There's no expectations at all that they're going to miss it up. Do you think they're real friends or work friends?
Oh, I think work friends for sure. Yeah.
Right?
But yeah, it was very the way they were talking to each other in the headset at the beginning of the movie felt very realistic for like, we're having very polite ribbing right now.
Like, has Matt Damon met Michael Pena's wife in this?
No way. Absolutely no way.
You don't think there's any way?
I don't think so.
Because
Do you?
if he's like, I was wondering because he's saying he would do the same for me and the wife accepts it immediately. And has Matt Damon ever come over for dinner? Do they have a relationship with him like that? Or is she just taking the word of her husband on this, which I guess would also make sense, but they are all still so confident that Matt Damon would do the same for them.
Mm-hmm.
Which is interesting. So they're obviously in a pressure cooker situation where they're better friends than occasional lunch at the office friends. They're stuck in this place for 500 days. They've got to be sick of each other too, and there's got to be a pretty deep relationship to spend 500 days in space with just these people and not be at each other's throats and ready to murder each other, right? So yeah, I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if they've hung out. I also feel like once they get back, they show everyone separately. They make it seem like Kate and Sebastian are an anomaly. It seems like everyone kind of just goes their separate ways. And I don't know. When was the last time Matt Damon's character talked to Michael Pena? That's probably my other question. Like, are they in touch at all? I'm going to say no,
dude.
They bump into each other sometimes and it's nice.
Yeah, they probably had to do like PT when they got back to Earth. I know there's like a bunch of stuff you have to do when you're an astronaut when you land again, where they got to like check all your vitals and they keep you under supervision for a while. So they probably did all that. And then whenever they got released from that like observation period, they were probably like, yo, we gotta grab lunch, dude. Like, I'll hit you up. Like, this will be great, man. This will be awesome. All right, take it easy, man. Take it easy. And then they never saw each other again.
Yeah, it's a lot of shoulds. We should grab lunch. Oh, man, we should catch a game. We should. It's like, okay, that's not going to happen. So,
yeah. It's like, the thing where it's like one day every parent sets their child down and never picks them up again. And like, you never know like when the last time is that you're picking up your kid. It's kind of a similar thing. Like, we never know when the last time is that we tell our boys we got to grab lunch. We got to get drinks sometime, dude. There's always a last time, and we never know when that is.
If only there was a way to know you're in the good old days before you left them behind.
Wow.
Ed Bernard. Can we... Any final thoughts before we wrap this up? Beef Thief? I think we hit it.
Yeah, man. I mean, this is like... We didn't go too deep into this, but this is kind of like a modern day trope machine. Like, we've got everything. We've got people tearing things off and saying things dramatically under their breath. We've got Donald Glover, the frantic genius, who even in a room full of geniuses, he's the genius. And the only way they can convey things is with like very unconventional means of like using people physically in a room to represent things. Like, it's full of them and it's fun. And it didn't get credit for that at the time. But now looking back, this is kind of a B movie in a way. And I dig it.
I think it is. It's a B movie or a D movie for dad time.
Yeah.
It is funny to me that Donald Glover is the one who figures this out, and it takes him months to be like, the math checks out. Am I crazy to think that once you have that idea, the math should be pretty quick?
I don't know, because he had to wire into a server bank and then it had to tell him like calculations successful or something.
Right.
So something intense had to happen here. They had ChatGPT before we did. That thing was cranking. Ladies and gentlemen, what do you think? Let us know. Send us an email, nerdy430@gmail.com. We'll read it on the show. We'll be back here again next week with Beetlejuice. Till then, stay nerdy, everybody. Bye.
Beetlejuice. No!